Let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. Right now, the Bengals are having problems with their defense. And I'm talking about the first round pick and Shamar Stewart and the same with Trey Hendrickson. But in order to talk about those players, I have to talk about what happened last season. The Cincinnati Bengals, they should have made the NFL playoffs, but they didn't. They finished the season off by being 9-8. And you may ask yourself, why am I saying they should have made the NFL playoffs? When you have a quarterback that had 43 passing touchdowns to 9 interceptions, and you miss the playoffs, that says a lot about your defense and a lack of talent that you have on that side of the ball. And Joe Burrow led the league in passing yards. Every single week, he's trying to throw them in games to keep them in the matchup. Now, he had a lot of help. Jamar Chase had a hell of a season. He led the league in catches, receiving yards, receiving touchdowns. And T. Higgins, we all know what he is at this point. He's a true number 1 wide receiver as well. The problem was this for the Cincinnati Bengals. They waited too long to pay Jamar Chase, and the same with T. Higgins. T. Higgins has been basically clamoring for a contract extension for quite some time now. But the last 2 off seasons, they franchise tagged this man. And they wanted to see if he could go out there and match that production every single year. And the same with Jamar Chase. He came out last offseason. He was basically asking for a contract extension. He missed time in terms of offseason training camp. But he was able to be ready to go at the start of the season. But after this previous year, this offseason, they finally went out there and they finally paid their star players. Jamar Chase, $161 million, $112 million fully guaranteed on a 4-year deal. T. Higgins, 4 years, $115 million. Now, I'm going to say this. Jamar Chase, in my opinion, is the best wide receiver right now in football. You look at T. Higgins, most people would say that he's a wide receiver too. I don't look at him like that. I see him as a wide receiver number 1. On most teams in the NFL, he would be their best wide receiver. That's why the Patriots were ready to go out there and offer him a huge deal. But the Bengals said, hell no, we're going to keep this core together. Mostly because they want to win football games long term, and because Joe Burrow has come out and he said this many a times before over the last few years. He said there is no reason to why we could not keep this core together. Him and Jamar Chase, they played at LSU together, so there's already a bond there. He has become very close with T. Higgins on and off the field. This is not one of those situations to where the Bengals screwed themselves in terms of paying all these players. Sure, Joe Burrow, he doesn't need both of these players, but it helps your offense out even more. You can't just go out there and put trap coverage on Jamar Chase the entire game. You can't double team him. And the same with T. Higgins. They can win one-on-one opportunities. And whoever the wide receiver 3 is, he's going to eat. Last season, it was Yoshi Vash. He was able to go out there and give them very good production. And I really like Yoshi Vash a lot. Yoshi Vash had 479 receiving yards, 6 receiving touchdowns. And you still have Jermaine Burton. Hopefully he can pan out as a player. Last season, he had a lot of off-the-field problems. He needs to be more of a professional. He needs to show up, practice at time. Go out there and stop letting little things outside of work distract him, because he can be a very valuable number 3 to number 4 wide receiver in this system. And you still have Mike Gesicki. The offense with the Bengals right now is awesome. 665 receiving yards last season for Mike Gesicki, 2 receiving touchdowns. And Chase Brown, 990 rushing yards. You don't need to have a top running back to work out in this system, because teams are not going to go out there and stack the box against Joe Burrow. You'll be crazy to do so. If you're going to stack the box against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, you deserve to be fired. And their offensive line has gotten progressively better within the last 2 to 3 years with talent like Orlando Brown and the same with Armarius Mims. I think that's an underrated tackle duo to have in this division. So overall, their offense is perfect. With Joe Burrow spearheading this thing and the same with Zach Taylor calling plays. The defense is where I have a lot of problems. You see, they fired Coach Lou. Coach Lou was a defensive coordinator with the Bengals for a very long time. They fired him. You bring in Al Golden from Notre Dame. We'll see how his defense looks. He said this before. He's excited to work with Trey Hendrickson, and the same with Myles Murphy. And remember the name of Myles Murphy in the next few minutes. But Trey Hendrickson right now, this is a man that's very upset. He wants to get paid a lot of money, and rightfully so. Now, I see a lot of people crushing the Cincinnati Bengals in their front office. They're saying, hey, you should have paid him sooner. You should have paid him the way how you paid Joe Burrow. It's a different situation here. They did pay Trey Hendrickson sooner. They gave him a contract extension. The problem is this: he wants more money because he got to see what T. Higgins got paid, and the same with Jamar Chase. They did wait too late to pay those top wide receivers. Don't get me wrong, but I look at Trey Hendrickson. He does deserve to get paid more money. He's going to only make $15 million for this upcoming season, and I feel his pain. 17.5 sacks in back-to-back years. He's led the NFL in sacks over the last 2 years. He's their best defensive player. But they don't want to go out there and invest money in him long term because he is 30 years old and he's not slowing down. His age doesn't bother me, but I understand where the Bengals is coming from. And I want you guys to understand this. The Bengals ownership, he's cheap as hell. He's not known to go out there and pay players like this, especially giving these guys big time deals like Jamar Chase, the same with T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson. They gave him a huge contract when he came over from the New Orleans Saints. And now he's threatening to hold out for the entire season and for training camp. That's a dangerous situation. We have seen players do this before in the past. They'll go out there in the offseason. They won't work out with their teams. They can go and work out with their individual coaches, but it's not the same as live practice, as live scrimmages, 7-on-7, 11-on-11. It's not the same. We just saw this with Hassan Reddick. He missed the first half of the season with the New York Jets. He missed the entire offseason. He didn't look the same when he played with the Jets. Le'Veon Bell missed an entire year with the Steelers. He goes to the Jets. He's not the same player. And there's other examples of this. You want your players to be out there throughout the offseason. But this is where I sympathize with Trey Hendrickson. Coming up to the NFL draft, according to him, he was having communication with the Bengals every single week about getting this deal done. After the NFL draft, they just say, you know what, we're going to ghost you. Only just for a couple weeks later for Zach Taylor to text him, hey, we have mandatory training camp. This isn't voluntary. We need you here or we're going to start finding you immediately. Now he's taking it personally. Trey Hendrickson said that he's still willing to be a Cincinnati Bengal, but he wants to make his money and he wants to make sure that he's covered long term. He can honor this contract, but it's smart for him to cover his bases. And look, you'll never get sympathy out of me for an owner of an NFL team and how this cap goes up every single year. Look at how much they charge their fans to watch football games on Amazon Prime, Netflix, wherever else that you have these games, and you have to get these games now. They're just not on regular traditional cable anymore. And that pumps more money into the NFL, the TV right deals every single year, the sponsorships, the gambling ads, they make their money. But I look at Trey, he has to be careful here. The Cincinnati Bengals, if they decide to make this ugly, he may miss an entire season. He'll be 31 years old as a free agent. And another team may view him as a headache. I won't view him as that. But that's how the NFL may view him. The Bengals, this is my prediction. They'll get this thing done. I would sign him to a 2 to 3 year deal. Give him a lot of money up front. Push the money back into guaranteed bonuses for Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. If he starts to slow down within those 2 to 3 years, it's a front-loaded contract. You can cut him after the first or the second season. That's how they should get this thing done. And I think it works out with both sides. But right now, he's threatening to hold out. Without having him on the field with this defense, they're not going to be good. You're not going to improve with your best defensive player missing an entire season or missing a good portion of the season. It's unrealistic. And I look at Shamar Stewart. Now, this is a first-round pick. They can't find him. He's missing rookie training camp right now. They're in phase 2. He's still on the sideline just watching. It's not down to the money with Shamar Stewart, from my understanding. It's the wording of his contract. He wants to be covered the same way that Amarius Mims and Myles Murphy were covered. Those are the last 2 first-round picks with the Cincinnati Bengals. He wants the identical language, and right now it's not adding up. So he's not willing to go out there and sign a deal. They can find Trey Hendrickson. He has a contract with the Bengals. This kid, he doesn't. And they need Shamar Stewart as well. Shamar Stewart only had 4.5 sacks in 3 years at Texas A&M. But if you watched him with Texas A&M, he had one of the highest pressure rates in the nation every single year. The reason why he did not have double-digit sacks every single year, he was getting double-teamed a lot. He was getting chip blocked a lot as well. His strong suit right now is not getting to the quarterback and bringing him down on a consistent basis. I compare him to Danielle Hunter. When he came out of college, you saw Danielle Hunter. The upside was there. When he came over to the NFL with better coaching, he popped off the screen. He has potential to be one of the best edge rushers in football. That is how special Shamar Stewart is, and he's excellent against the run. Trey Hendrickson, very good football player. He's great at getting to the quarterback. He is not known for going back there and setting the edge and stopping the run. Amazing player, but that's not his strong suit. You're getting 2-1 with Shamar Stewart, and they need defensive end help as much as possible right now to get to the quarterback on a consistent basis. You look at the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson. We'll see what the Cleveland Browns can do. They love to run the football, and now they just drafted Jenkins as well. The Steelers, they just drafted Caleb Johnson. We'll see who their quarterback's going to be. This is still a tough division with a lot of great coaching, including Zach Taylor. But Shamar Stewart needs to get on the field as well. Another prediction, they'll get this thing done with him. I do believe that they'll get him out there earlier than they'll get Trey Hendrickson out there. And they no longer have Sam Hubbard. He retired. He did not want to play with another team in the NFL. The Bengals are planning to move on from him. But Myles Murphy, the man of the hour, they need more production out of him. I know that he missed time last season dealing with an injury. You're a first-round pick. You only had 3 sacks in your first year. We need to see more out of him. I'm not saying that he has to go out there and be Max Crosby, be TJ Watt, and Myles Garrett. Can you go out there and give them 8 to 12 sacks on the season? Playing alongside Trey Hendrickson should be that. You should be able to go out there and face those one-on-one situations. That's why it's so enticing to have Shamar Stewart across side from Trey Hendrickson. Most teams, they're still going to respect Trey Hendrickson. He's going to get double teamed. He's going to get the offensive line shifted his way. It comes down to those players on the opposite side of him. Can he win those one-on-one opportunities? Sam Hubbard, he couldn't. He was more so of a run stopper. Joseph Asai, he's a solid defensive end and a half, but he's no superstar. He only had 5 sacks last season. The rest of their front seven, Jermaine Pratt, solid linebacker. Logan Wilson, like him a lot as well. Jermaine Pratt, I think his days are coming to an end with the Bengals. And the reason why I say that, they did draft Demetrius Knight Jr., very good linebacker coming out of South Carolina. He plays the same position as Jermaine Pratt, and he reminds me a lot of Jermaine Pratt coming out of college. Can make good plays on the football, can stop the run at a very good level, and can blitz him in certain situations to get to the quarterback. Now, a lot of this depends on the status and the contract negotiations with said players, like I mentioned before, and how will Al Golden use his defense? Because last season, this is why I'm concerned about the Bengals defense still. Even when Trey Hendrickson was on the court, they couldn't get to the quarterback when he was on the field, they couldn't get to the quarterback on a consistent basis. Look at that game against the Washington Commanders. Besides Trey Hendrickson, no one else was getting to the quarterback. So Coach Lou, he's blitzing more often than he usually would. And now you're putting your cornerbacks in one-on-one situations. This is a young secondary. They're going against a veteran, Terry McLaurin, and he's giving them problems. Against the Kansas City Chiefs, they did a very good job. Then you had the defensive pass interference. Very questionable, by the way. That pushed them into field goal range. They won that matchup. But you have to have that consistent pressure there to help out this young secondary. This is not a terrible defense because of their names. They're just so young right now. They don't have the experience on the back end. That's what concerns me. But you have a generational talent in Joe Burrow that should be able to get you over the top. They don't need a defense to be top 5 or top 10. They just need this defense to be solid. That's it. To go out there and contain the run and to be excellent against the pass in certain situations. You look at the wide receivers in this division. You have Jerry Jeudy to worry about. DK Metcalf. You may say, what quarterback? I'll agree with you on that, but those are still talented players. And look at the Baltimore Ravens. Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely, Rashad Bateman. You have to gear up against that team and get crucial stops against Lamar Jackson. So hopefully Al Golden can propel this defense to move forward long term. Far as his secondary, you have DJ Turner. He's a young cornerback. I think that you can get a lot of good snaps out of him. He's 24 years old. Josh Newton. I'm a big fan of Josh Newton. As the season closed out last year on that 5-game winning streak, he made a lot of good plays, especially against the Los Angeles Chargers. Go back and look at that game against the Chargers. He was playing out of his mind. It just needs to be more consistent, but he's another young player. Daxton Hill hasn't shown out just yet for the Bengals. They've put him at safety. They've put him at nickel cornerback. They've put him at corner. He isn't a bust just yet because the injury they suffered last year, but you just need to see more production out of him the same way with Myles Murphy. I'm trying to be careful with the bust word here. When we've seen him on the field, he hasn't been terrible. They just need to put him into the correct situations. There's a lot of talent there with him. And I feel for him because of his injury last year. But he can be a nice player. Geno Stone, he's a veteran. For the first 5 games last year, I wanted him off the field. As the season progressed, he started to play better. He made me shut up. With the Baltimore Ravens, he had a career year. Last year, 4 interceptions, 6 pass deflection, 47 solo tackles. That'll get it done. And you have Jordan Battle. Jordan Battle is another safety I'm very high on. But it's the same thing with Jordan Battle. 24 years old. That's young. And you have Cam Taylor-Britt. 3 interceptions, 16 pass deflections. And he got a bad reputation last year. He came out and said Xavier Worthy, he doesn't do anything special. He runs fast. They lost against the Chiefs, even though he did have a great interception. He goes against the Washington Commanders. He said the Commanders, they don't do anything special. They don't do anything special to confuse us with the defense. And they lost to Jaden Daniels, a rookie quarterback. So right now with him, he's not in great standing because of the way that he talks, but he can back it up on most weeks. He's overhated because of his mouth. Solid cornerback to have. He's a very good corner, and you can make the case that he's the best corner that they have on their team. But this defense is going to come down to those contract negotiations with this rookie and Shamar Stewart, the same with Trey Hendrickson, and hopefully Al Golden can help them out long term. That's all that you can ask for. But I look at Coach Lou. He was a bad DC last year, but he does not deserve all the blame. It was time to move on. He was a very good defensive coordinator in the past. The game started to pass him by. But the lack of talent was also showing as well. That had nothing to do with Coach Lou. That's a lot in the front office not supplying him with the best players. And when I go back to this offense, man, if you can limit a team to only score 20 points a game, you'll be golden. That's simple with Joe Burrow. He can go out there every single week and he can carry over the hump. When we speak of the top quarterbacks in football, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, he's in that conversation. Joe Burrow is special. And with you bringing back these 2 number 1 wide receivers, there's a lot of expectation right now for them to continue the streak that they had from last season. You won your last 5 games and you lost 6 games by 1 score. You win 2 of those games that you lost by 1 score, you make the NFL playoffs. And anything can happen in the playoffs. I've seen Joe Burrow play with terrible offensive lines over and over again. He can get the most out of the players around him. That's with Jamar Chase. That's without Jamar Chase. That's with T. Higgins. That's without T. Higgins. This man is special. When we use the label generational talent, that's what Joe Burrow is. Does he get a lot of help from these wide receivers? Yes, he does. But he makes certain throws that other quarterbacks just can't make. Especially against pressure. I've seen him with 3 defensive linemen in his face. He can't step up into his throw off his back foot across the middle of the field. It goes for a touchdown. And with his offensive line progressing into the right direction in terms of getting better, with Chase Brown being a solid running back last year, and then you also drafted Taj Brooks out of Texas Tech. Taj Brooks was a bell cow at Texas Tech his entire tenure there. Don't be surprised they put him in and they have him alongside a player like Chase Brown. And they give them back-to-back carries in terms of being a dual threat out of the backfield. Having those 2 guys is going to be special for the Bengals long term. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about the Cincinnati Bengals? Right now, I am concerned. I don't see their defense taking this major step forward, even if Trey Hendrickson is playing next year, because usually that's not how it goes with the history of the NFL. You know, if you have a weaker defense, they may get better. But I'm just saying in this aspect, I don't see them being a top 10 defense. And once again, they don't have to. They just have to be better than last season. But if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, I want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless.